All right, here we go. To go back to the beginning, some time ago, John Birchall's funeral was, and we talked about doing a little memorial for him here. And when I talked to Steve and Jason, I thought, well, that's good. But in the last, what, 5-6 years, you said there have been half a dozen people in the past, and we ought to at least do a mention of them. And the best thing of that is Steve has pictures of all of them, so that'll rotate through and get a chance to see them. And folks like Phil that are here all the time probably knew all of them, but they're fairly recent attendees. So the early years we didn't know them. Anyway, what happened was in '99. There was a fellow by the name of Greg Feeler in Boise called John, and they'd been friends in Boise. At that time, John was in Helena, and said, let's get together somewhere. And they looked at the map and they said, well, Gibbonsville is halfway, let's just meet there. So they did, and just did rides and anything. At that time, they weren't really thinking about doing a rendezvous. But 3 years later, in '02, Bob Edmondson and his wife Marilyn called up John Birchall and said, hey, let's get together, and there's so few bikes and riders, Guzzi riders, in Montana and Idaho, let's do something together. And so they were going to meet in Gibbonsville. Well, John's son Aaron got sick, couldn't make it. He couldn't make it, so he called me, and I boogied on down here and met Bob and Marilyn, and great people. I don't know how many of you know them, but you know them. Really, really good people. And Bob had been president of the Idaho Beamer Club, so he was real acquainted with doing things like that. And we discussed getting together every year for a rally. And I didn't know anything about it. Bob knew a lot. And so I asked him, well, what's the rules? The rules of engagement, the military would call it. What are we doing? And I thought he was really smart, because he said, the rules are, there's no rules. And that's the way it's always been. It'll be the third weekend in July. There's no rules. Anybody that wants to come, come. There's no registration, no awards. Anybody's welcome, and any bike is welcome. You know, and you know, it's pretty much a MOTO Guzzi deal, and that's what you see mostly. But there have been Harleys and everything else here.
Yeah, that's why they changed. They kind of called it a rendezvous instead of a rally.
Yeah, Broken Arrow rendezvous.
Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, that's how it started out, with basically 3 people, and it just grew every year. And this year must be about as big as it's ever been.
I think this is the biggest one.
Yeah. So it just keeps growing a little bigger. You know, people get older and pass on or get sick and can't make it. You know, and then you'll see new people coming every year. So it's cool. The only things I can remember noteworthy the first 10 years is within a couple of years of when we started in '02, there was a cloud burst and washed out most of the highway on the way up to the pass. So that was interesting, getting around that. And then another year, there were forest fires right close, and we canceled because the highway department said they were going to close the highway, so we went ahead and canceled. And I don't know if they ever did close it or not. So that's kind of what was going on in the early years. And then Bob and Marilyn went from Guzzi's, a Vasa and a Jackal, back to BMW. and they still came once in a while, but not so much. And they were getting out of it, and John and I had been kind of helping out, but we didn't know a lot about it either. And Steve volunteered to jump in there. He said this is too good to let it die. So that was about the 10-year point, probably 2012.
I think so. I really don't remember.
Somewhere
but
in there.
There's one. Bob and Marilyn basically were, you know, doing other things, and they weren't able to make it up here. They were doing a lot of BMW rallies and stuff. So.
And there were a lot of us. You know, we had jobs and business, and we just couldn't make it a lot of the time. So thank goodness there's people like Phil and Steve and a few others that jump in, and they're here all the time and on top of things, and it probably wouldn't have carried on without people like Steve. That's really good. And he's so humble and shy, we can't get him to say anything about the next 10 years, but if you ask him some questions, he'll probably answer.
Well, I just want to see it keep going, you know, for as long as people want to keep coming. You know, I'm going to put up a flyer every year, and hopefully it'll keep going. And now, last year met Jason, and we got him hooked up with Frank Wedge in the MOTO Guzzi National Owners Club, and got rid of the rep that wasn't doing nothing. So now Jason's a rep for Montana, and so I talked to him about wanting to take over the rally to have kind of a Montana. It's kind of like a Montana State rally, but it's still going to be the same, Broken Arrow Rendezvous. So Jason, I mean, I'm still going to be involved, but probably putting the flyers up and stuff. But Jason's going to be the leader. So yeah, but it's been fun, and like I told Jason, if he gets tired and doesn't want to do it anymore, I'll try to keep it going. That's, you know, so.
Yeah. And you need, you know, you got a young guy full of enthusiasm, and that's what you need. You need some turnover.
Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Guzzi oriented, you know. I mean, Bob had a lot of BMW people here in the early years, and one of the people that's we're kind of memorializing is one of those guys, and so there aren't near as many BMW people as there used to be, but and then every once in a while Bob will pop in. A couple years ago he was here, so and I was kind of hoping maybe he kind of sounded like maybe they might try to start coming more often, but I haven't heard from him. He did call me and tell me that his Cole Mortons had passed away, and so I guess I can kind of go through the people I want to kind of memorialize. It's going to be a little bit.